Who the hell do you think you are?
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, wherever you may be. I am your host, Adam Rice, and this is the 10-Minute Column. Today is a beautiful August 25th, 2009 day. I'll be reading two stories for you from the BBC, making this nice and short, nice and quick for you. So, enjoy the show. Well, now here's a good story. You want to find a good story to go to bbcnews.com. The story is called Hilltop Youths Push to Settle West Bank. It's by Erica Chernovsky. BBC News in Jerusalem. While many Israeli teenagers spend the summer hanging out on beaches or in shopping malls, Evitar Sonlem is sitting on an exposed hillside in the southwestern bank at the Jewish outpost of Mitzpe Avichai. I know I had to pronounce that wrong, but I'm not going to take my time and try to pronounce it. Well, if you look at the pictures in the story, you see a scene that looks a lot like my room does in the morning, mostly all the time. So what these teenagers are doing is going up to the West Bank, where the Israeli government has been arguing with the Palestinians that they won't build any more settlements up there. So what these teenagers do is, in act of revolution, they go up there and they make their little settlements, their little structures. And wouldn't you know it, the government comes and tears them down. These outposts are illegal even under Israeli law, and Israel agreed to plan to remove them under the 2003 U.S.-sponsored Roadmap Peace Plan. Israeli authorities have stepped up demolitions of smaller outposts, and settlers are accelerating building and rebuilding structures at the sites. The Hilltop Youths movement members are often found camping out in makeshift communities and have a reputation as wayward teens eager to clash with Israeli authorities and Palestinians alike. It's not like these kids are going to Egypt, or it's not like they're going to Jordan and setting up their little outposts. This is Israel. This is land that was basically promised to them by their God, by Yahweh. Israel was won by the Zionist movement that we know today as Israel. They won that land fair and square. But of course, there's the Palestinians who feel, well, shall I say, a little bit butthurt that Israeli gets Jerusalem and they don't. It's really interesting, the word Palestine actually has roots in the word Philistines, who way, way, way back in the day were actually the big-time enemies of the Jews. You may remember Goliath was a Philistine, and that's when David, the little shepherd boy, came up and slew Goliath. But once again, we have anti-Semitism on the rise. And you know who's supporting those Palestines? The word Palestine itself is an insult to Israel. The word Palestine is basically saying that you are against Israel. And yet Hillary Clinton doesn't mind sending billions of dollars this way and billions of dollars that way for these rogue militants who are really just only after their holy site of Jerusalem. Another story here from the BBC News. This one is called Prime Minister Repulsed at Bomber's Welcome. Gordon Brown, that is the leftist Prime Minister of Great Britain, has said that he was repulsed by the welcome given to the Lockerbie bomber on his return to Libya. Anyone who's been following the news knows that this man, this terrorist, who was serving a life sentence for the 1988 bombing of a Pan Am jet over Lockerbie, was released. He was released from Great Britain, where he was being kept, and released back to Libya. According to the article here, British officials have revealed that they wrote to the Libyan government urging that the man be given a low-key reception. But did they give him one? No, no, no. They gave him a hero's welcome. Do you give terrorists hero's welcome? Well, Gordon Brown has been unusually silent about it. The conservatives and liberal Democrats of Great Britain have been urging Mr. Brown to comment on the case, which they argue could do serious damage between the relationship between the UK and the US. Well, I gotta tell you about what's been happening in Great Britain, other than the fact that they're releasing terrorists. Well, okay, they're not just releasing him to release him. He has terminal cancer. He only has a few more years to survive, and they're saying that this is a compassionate act. I don't think it's a compassionate act. I think Great Britain is actually doing deals with Libya. They have to be doing some under-the-table deal with this release of this man. There wouldn't be any other reason to. The Compassion Act? Psh, I don't believe it. Compassion for a terrorist? You know, Great Britain has a list of people who are not allowed there. They have a banned list. And on this list includes a couple of murderers, a few well-known terrorists and things like that. But on this list is also Michael Savage. He's a radio talk show host. Michael Savage writes books. He's not a terrorist. Michael Savage is basically just expressing free speech. He takes full advantage of the First Amendment, as you all should. But the thing is that Michael Savage is an opponent to the New World Order. This is a man who was not for Bush. It's a man who was definitely not for Obama. An independent mind who saw that countries are defined by key elements: borders, language, and culture. That just makes total sense to me. Borders, language, and culture make up your country. It's easy as that. But because we are becoming a more global world, borders, language, and culture are being broken down. So how come Great Britain, land of bad teeth and bad food, has banned Michael Savage? He just speaks his mind. He doesn't kill people. This list that he's on is with murderers and terrorists. I can only take this as a sign that the UK is becoming very tyrannical. You know, if you've ever read George Orwell's 1984 novel, it's pretty much set in London in what's called Oceania in his book. And I gotta tell you folks, it's not too far away. It's not too far away at all.